The massive viewing screen of the Galactic Council chamber displayed what appeared to be specks of dust against the backdrop of space. Council members from 12 different species leaned forward in their seats, some using their visual enhancement devices to get a better look at the approaching vessels. "Are those ships?" asked High Counselor Bren, his 4 eyes blinking in confusion. The elderly politician had seen many strange things in his 200 years of service, but these vessels were unlike anything he'd encountered before. The technical officer, a tall being with silvery skin, adjusted the display settings. "Yes, High Counselor. Our deep space sensors detected them entering Council space at the outer rim. They appear to be a new species making first contact." Admiral James Miller stood straight and proud on the bridge of the Earth ship Endeavour, his weathered face illuminated by the soft blue glow of the control panels. At 55 years old, he had spent most of his life preparing for this moment. Humanity's first official contact with the Galactic Council. "Status report," he called out to his crew. "All systems nominal, sir," replied Officer Peter Wright from his station. "The quantum cores are running at optimal efficiency, and our compression systems are stable." Miller nodded, allowing himself a small smile. He knew what their ships looked like to the Council. Tiny, almost laughably small compared to the massive vessels that typically roamed these spaces. But that was exactly how they wanted it. Back in the Council chamber, the atmosphere had shifted from curiosity to amusement. A representative from the warrior Krell species let out a booming laugh that echoed through the chamber. "Those aren't warships, they're escape pods," he declared, pointing at the screen with one of his armored appendages. "The largest one is barely the size of our scout vessels." The Council members shared knowing looks and chuckles. They had seen many emerging species over the millennia, but none had dared to venture into deep space with such diminutive crafts. "Incoming transmission from the unknown fleet," announced the communications officer. The main screen shifted to show Admiral Miller's image. The Council members studied him with interest. Another Bictal species, similar to several others they had encountered. "Greetings, honorable members of the Galactic Council," Miller spoke clearly and confidently. "I am Admiral James Miller of the United Earth Fleet. We come in peace, seeking diplomatic relations and trade opportunities." The High Counselor straightened in his chair, trying to maintain his diplomatic composure despite his amusement. "Welcome, Admiral Miller. We are surprised by your arrival. Your vessels seem rather compact for deep space travel." Miller's expression remained neutral, but there was a glint in his eyes. "We believe in efficiency, High Counselor. Our ships serve their purpose well." From his tactical station, Officer Wright monitored the Council's scanning attempts. Their sensors swept over the human ships repeatedly, clearly confused by the readings they were getting. The quantum compression technology that humanity had developed was working perfectly, hiding their true capabilities in plain sight. "Surely you don't plan to explore much of space in such tiny vessels?" asked the Krell representative, not bothering to hide his disdain. "The void is dangerous, filled with pirates and hostile species. Your ships would make easy targets." "We appreciate your concern," Miller replied diplomatically. "However, we are confident in our capabilities." The Council members exchanged more amused glances. Some were already making notes on their data pads, likely documenting this encounter as another example of a naive species taking its first steps into the galactic community. Little did they know that beneath the seemingly modest exterior of the human ships lay technology that would change the balance of power in the galaxy. The quantum compression systems, the advanced AI integration, the revolutionary power cores, all hidden behind a facade of simplicity. As the diplomatic pleasantries continued, Officer Wright leaned closer to his console, whispering to his colleague, "They're scanning us again. Should we be worried?" "Let them scan," replied Engineer Lisa Hayes with a knowing smile. "They won't understand what they're seeing anyway. Sometimes the best place to hide is in plain sight." Admiral Miller concluded his initial contact with the Council, watching as they assigned a diplomatic liaison and began the standard first contact procedures. He knew it would only be a matter of time before the galaxy learned that when it came to humans, appearances could be deceiving. In the coming months, those who laughed at the tiny fleet would learn this lesson the hard way. 3 weeks after first contact, the Earth trading vessel Star Merchant glided through the darkness of space. Lieutenant Tom Walker sat at the helm, his fingers dancing across the control panel as he made minor course adjustments. The ship was small by galactic standards, but its cargo holds were filled with valuable Earth goods, coffee, spices, and precious metals. "Sensor contact," announced Jane Foster from the tactical station, her voice cutting through the quiet bridge. 3 ships just dropped out of faster-than-light travel. They're not broadcasting standard identification codes. Walker straightened in his chair. "Show me." The main screen lit up with the image of 3 rough-looking vessels, each one at least 3 times the size of the Star Merchant. Their hulls were painted in dark colors with mismatched armor plates, a common sign of pirate ships in this sector. "They're hailing us," Foster reported. A harsh voice crackled through the communication system. "Tiny vessel, this is Captain Grax of the Free Traders Alliance. Power down your engines and prepare to be boarded. Resist, and we'll blow your little ship apart." Walker shared a knowing look with his crew. The pirates had fallen for their ship's harmless appearance, just like the Council had. "Battle stations," he ordered calmly. "But don't power up weapons yet. Let's play this smart." The pirates were already moving to surround them, confident in their superior numbers and size. What they didn't know was that the Star Merchant, like all human ships, was far more than it appeared to be. "Sir," Foster called out, "they're charging weapons." Walker nodded. "Send the emergency beacon. Then initiate combat expansion sequence." Deep within the Star Merchant's hull, the quantum compression systems began their work. Sections of the ship that had been folded into compressed space started to expand. Weapon ports hidden beneath seemingly decorative panels revealed themselves. The ship's energy signature, previously masked to appear weak and civilian, began to grow. The pirate captain's voice came through again, this time with a note of confusion. "What's happening to your ship? What kind of trick is this?" Walker allowed himself a small smile. "This is your only warning. Leave now or face the consequences." The pirates responded with plasma fire, their shots streaking through space toward the human vessel. But the Star Merchant was already moving, its maneuverability far exceeding what a ship its size should be capable of. "Evasive pattern Delta," Walker commanded. "Return fire, defensive patterns only. Let's show them what a tiny human ship can do." The Star Merchant's hidden weapons came to life. Precision-guided energy beams struck the lead pirate ship's engines, while point defense systems easily deflected their return fire. The human vessel moved like a dancer between the larger ships, its AI-enhanced systems predicting and countering every attack. "Sir, 2 more ships dropping out of FTL," Foster reported urgently. Walker tensed, but then smiled as he saw the newcomer's signatures. "Those are ours. Looks like the cavalry has arrived." 2 more human trading ships, similar in size to the Star Merchant, appeared in the battle space. The pirates, already struggling with 1 human vessel, suddenly found themselves facing 3 ships that seemed to be breaking every rule of physics they knew. "Impossible," one of the pirates was heard muttering over the open channel. "Ships that small can't have that much power." The battle ended quickly after that. 1 pirate ship was disabled. Another fled with heavy damage, and the 3rd surrendered after seeing its weapons had no effect on the human vessel's advanced shields. Later, as Council peacekeepers arrived to collect the captured pirates, Walker overheard their leader talking to his crew. "The small devils," Captain Grax said, his voice shaking. "They're ships. They're not what they seem. Spread the word. Don't let the size fool you. These humans, they're different." As Walker prepared his report for Earth Command, he knew this was just the beginning. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity's technological innovations had changed the rules of space combat forever. "Send a message to Admiral Miller," he told Foster. Tell him Phase 2 is proceeding exactly as planned. The galaxy is starting to notice. Captain Mary Reed stood at the viewport of New Hope Colony's defense station, watching as another massive Dominion warship passed slowly through the system. It was the third one this week, each time coming closer to the colony's defensive perimeter, each time staying just outside the legal boundary. "They're testing us," she muttered, turning to face her command crew. Again. The Dominion Empire had been growing bolder since the pirate incident. Stories of the small devils and their expanding ships had spread through the galaxy, but the Dominion's leaders publicly dismissed them as tall tales and exaggerations. "Ma'am," called out Officer Mike Thompson from his monitoring station. "The Dominion ship is broadcasting again." The message played through the station speakers, the same one they'd been sending to all human colonies. "Your presence in this sector is unwanted. Your tiny fleet cannot protect scattered colonies. Submit to Dominion protection or face the consequences." Reed's expression hardened. "Send our usual response. We appreciate their concern, but we can protect ourselves." She walked to the central command table, where a holographic display showed the positions of the 3 human ships assigned to defend New Hope Colony. They looked absurdly small next to the Dominion warship marks, but Reed knew better than anyone what those small ships could do. "Status of the Mineral Belt Patrol," she asked. "The Swift Runner is moving through the asteroid field now," Thompson replied. "The Dominion ships won't follow. Their vessels are too large to maneuver safely there." That was another advantage of human ships that the galaxy was slowly discovering. Their smaller size and advanced AI systems let them operate in environments that larger ships couldn't handle. The dense asteroid fields, the atmospheric storms of gas giants, the radiation zones near unstable stars, all became tactical advantages for human vessels. An alert flashed on the main screen. "Captain," called out Lieutenant Amy Burns, "we're detecting unusual radiation from the Dominion ship. They're scanning the asteroid field with some new type of sensor array." Reed smiled. "Let them scan." The quantum compression technology that allowed human ships to expand in combat also made them nearly impossible to detect when they wanted to stay hidden. The Dominion would only see what the humans wanted them to see. "Message from Swift Runner," Thompson announced. "They've completed their patrol route," and he paused, checking the data. "They found something interesting. The Dominion ships have been placing surveillance devices throughout the asteroid field." "Have they now?" Reed's smile turned predatory. "Well, we can't have that. Tell Swift Runner to collect some samples, and make sure our friends from the Dominion get a good view of it." The next few hours proved entertaining. The human ship, barely visible against the backdrop of asteroids, systematically collected the illegal surveillance devices. The Dominion warship could only watch, unable to enter the field without risking damage to their oversized hull. "They're hailing us again," Burns reported, trying to hide her amusement. The Dominion commander's face appeared on screen, his scaled features twisted in barely controlled rage. "Those devices are Dominion property. Your interference is an act of aggression." "Those devices," Reed replied calmly, "were placed in sovereign human territory without permission. We're simply cleaning up some space debris. Unless, of course, you'd like to explain to the Galactic Council why you're spying on a peaceful colony." The commander's face darkened, but he knew he was caught. The Dominion ship soon departed, but Reed knew they would be back. They were learning, testing, trying to understand humanity's capabilities. "Send a full report to Earth Command," she ordered. "The Dominion's getting desperate to understand our technology. That makes them dangerous." As she watched the Dominion ship disappear into faster-than-light travel, Reed thought about the coming conflict. The galaxy was changing. The old powers were realizing that size wasn't everything, that humanity's tiny fleet represented something they'd never encountered before. "They're not ready," she said quietly to herself. "They think they're learning our secrets, but they don't understand. Small doesn't mean weak. and humanity is done being underestimated. Red alert sirens blared through the Iron Belt mining colony as massive Dominion warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel. Commander David Ross counted 8 enemy vessels, each one bigger than any ship he'd seen before. They were clearly designed to make a statement. Resistance was futile. Status of civilian evacuation, Ross asked, standing calmly on the bridge of his ship, the Defender. 80% complete, replied Officer Ben Wilson. But we need another 15 minutes to get everyone to the bunkers. Ross nodded, studying the tactical display. He had only 3 ships to protect the colony: the Defender, the Guardian, and the Sentinel. Against 8 Dominion warships, it looked like suicide. The enemy commander's face appeared on the main screen, his expression smug. This is Commander Thax of the Dominion fleet. Your pathetic defense force is outnumbered and outgunned. Surrender the colony now, and we'll let your people evacuate. Maybe. Ross straightened his uniform. This is Commander David Ross of the Earth Fleet. You are in violation of Council space and threatening a civilian installation. Withdraw immediately. Laughter echoed through the bridge speakers. Or what? You'll fight us with those tiny toys you call ships. Even with your rumored expansion technology, you're still too small to. Ross cut the transmission. Status of the quantum cores. All 3 ships reading green, Wilson reported. Ready for combat expansion. Good. Ross allowed himself a small smile. Let's show them what these tiny toys can do. Execute Battle Plan Delta. The 3 human ships moved into formation, looking absurdly small against the backdrop of massive Dominion warships. The enemy vessels opened fire, their weapons blazing across space. But the human ships were already moving, their advanced AI systems predicting and evading the attack patterns. As they dodged, their hulls began to shift and expand, quantum compression fields releasing stored sections of the ships. They're trying to target our expansion points, Wilson called out. Their scans must have revealed something. Too late, Ross replied. We're already at full combat size. Launch drone swarms. From hidden bays in the now expanded human ships, hundreds of combat drones emerged. Each one was small, agile, and armed with weapons that could pierce Dominion shields. The enemy had expected to fight 3 small ships. Instead, they faced 3 medium-sized vessels and their accompanying drone armies. The Dominion formation broke as they tried to deal with multiple threats at once. Their huge ships, designed for impressive shows of force, proved too slow to track the agile human vessels and their drones. Guardian reports successful hits on their flagship's engine systems, Wilson announced. Sentinel has disabled 2 of their secondary vessels. Ross watched as his carefully planned strategy unfolded. The Dominion ships, packed with overwhelming firepower, couldn't bring their weapons to bear on targets that refused to fight the way they expected. Sir, Wilson's voice rose with urgency. 3 more Dominion ships incoming. Perfect. Ross's smile grew wider. Right on schedule. Send the signal. As the reinforcement ships arrived, they found themselves flying straight into a minefield of cloaked explosives that the human drones had deployed during the battle. 2 ships were immediately disabled, and the 3rd veered off in panic. Commander Thax's voice crackled through the speakers again, but this time without any smugness. What kind of devils are you? Those ships, it's impossible. No, Ross replied calmly. Not impossible. Just human ingenuity. Now about that withdrawal I mentioned. The battle ended 30 minutes later. 5 Dominion ships were disabled, 3 had fled, and their mighty fleet had been humbled by what they'd dismissed as a token defense force. As Ross prepared his report for Earth Command, he knew this battle would change everything. The Dominion wouldn't take this defeat lightly, but they learned an important lesson. When it came to human ships, size truly didn't matter. Send word to Admiral Miller, he ordered. Tell him the Dominion has finally seen what we can do. They won't underestimate us again. They'll come back harder next time. In the distance, the mining colony's lights shone bright and safe, protected by the ships that the galaxy had once mocked for their size. Engineer Rachel Cooper stood before the Galactic Council, surrounded by holographic displays showing the schematics of human ship designs. After the battle at Iron Belt Colony, Earth Command had decided it was time to reveal some of their technological secrets, partly to deter further attacks and partly to establish humanity's true place in the galactic community. As you can see, Cooper said, pointing to a cross-section of a human vessel, our ships aren't actually small. They're compressed. The council chamber erupted in murmurs. High Counselor Bren leaned forward, his 4 eyes focused intently on the display. Compressed. That's impossible. Matter cannot be folded that way. Cooper smiled. Impossible by conventional physics, yes, but we discovered something new. She touched a control, and the hologram showed a human ship transforming from its travel-sized to its combat configuration. We call it quantum spatial compression. The technical specialists in the chamber were frantically taking notes as Cooper continued her explanation. Think of it like a paper map. When folded, it takes up very little space, but it can be unfolded to show its full size. We do the same thing with sections of our ships, but in 3 dimensions. But the energy requirements, one of the council scientists protested, are enormous. Cooper finished for him. That's why our ships appear to have such small power cores. What you detect is only the visible portion. The rest exists in compressed space, ready to expand when needed. The Krell representative, who had once laughed at human ships, now looked deeply troubled. This technology, it changes everything. Combat tactics, ship design, space warfare itself. That's right, Cooper agreed. But the real breakthrough isn't just the compression technology. It's how we integrate it with our AI systems. She brought up new displays showing the neural networks that control the expansion process. Each ship's AI manages millions of calculations per second, predicting the optimal configuration for any situation. In battle, sections of the ship can expand or contract instantly, making us nearly impossible to target effectively. The council members watched in stunned silence as she played recordings from the Iron Belt battle. They saw human ships shifting and changing, their hulls flowing like liquid metal as they adapted to each new threat. By keeping our ships compressed during normal operations, Cooper explained, we use less fuel, need smaller crews, and can operate in spaces other ships can't enter. But when necessary, we can match or exceed the combat capabilities of much larger vessels. A representative from the Dominion Empire stood up, his face dark with anger. This technology makes your fleet far more dangerous than you led us to believe. You deceived the galaxy. No, Cooper replied firmly. We simply didn't show all our cards at once. Would any of you have done differently? We're a young species by your standards, entering a galaxy where many look down on us. We needed every advantage we could get. The High Counselor raised his hand for silence as the chamber threatened to descend into argument. Engineer Cooper, what are the limitations of this technology? Surely there must be some. Of course, she nodded. We can't compress ships beyond certain ratios without risking structural integrity. The energy costs increase exponentially with size, and the AI systems require constant updating to maintain optimal performance. She paused, letting her next words sink in. But we're improving the technology every day. The ships you've seen so far, they're just the beginning. The council chamber erupted in excited and fearful discussion. Cooper's revelation had changed their understanding of what was possible in ship design. The galaxy would never look at human vessels the same way again. As she gathered her materials to leave, Cooper overheard 2 council members talking. Those humans, they're not just lucky or clever. They're revolutionary. Yes, the other replied. And now I understand why the Dominion fears them so much. They're not expanding devils. They're expanding giants. Admiral James Miller stood in Earth Fleet Command's war room, watching as red dots appeared all across the tactical display. The Dominion had finally made its move, launching a massive invasion with over 200 warships. They're targeting all our major colonies simultaneously, reported Captain Mark Wilson. New Hope, Iron Belt, Terra Nova, all under attack. They think they can overwhelm us with numbers. Miller's expression remained calm. They still don't understand. Send the signal to all fleet commanders. Operation Swarm is now active. Across human space, the tiny fleet began to move. But this time, there was nothing small about humanity's response. At New Hope Colony, Captain Mary Reed watched as 30 Dominion warships entered the system. They expected to find 3 or 4 human defenders. Instead, they found 15 ships, each one already expanding to combat size. Launch drone swarms, Reed commanded. Show them our new toys. The human ships released not hundreds, but thousands of combat drones. The newest models were smaller than before, but twice as deadly. They moved in perfect coordination, guided by advanced AI systems that the Dominion had never seen before. Enemy ships are trying to form a defensive sphere, her tactical officer reported. Reed smiled. Perfect. Execute attack pattern Omega. The human ships split into 3 groups, their quantum compression systems allowing them to change size and configuration at will. While the Dominion focused on the drones, the human vessels slipped through their formation gaps, expanding and contracting to dodge enemy fire. At Iron Belt, Commander David Ross led an even more ambitious attack. His ships used their compressed state to hide among the asteroids, then expanded suddenly to ambush the Dominion forces from multiple directions. They called us tiny, Ross told his crew as another enemy ship fell to their coordinated attack. Now they'll learn why size isn't everything. It's how you use what you have. The battle that had started as an invasion was quickly becoming a massacre. The Dominion's mighty warships, designed for traditional space combat, couldn't adapt to humanity's revolutionary tactics. Back in the war room, Miller received updates from all fronts. "Sir," Wilson called out, "the Dominion's primary fleet is approaching Earth. 500 ships, their largest force ever assembled." "Right on schedule," Miller nodded. "Send the signal to Admiral Banks. Spring the trap." As the Dominion Armada approached Earth, expecting to find a handful of defenders, they instead encountered something unprecedented. 100 human ships declocked simultaneously, appearing in a perfect sphere around the invasion fleet. But these weren't the small vessels the galaxy had come to know. These were humanity's true capital ships, compressed to a fraction of their real size until this moment. As one, they began to expand, growing to match the Dominion vessels in size while maintaining their technological advantages. By the void, a Dominion commander's voice crackled over the communications channel. "Those ships, they're as big as ours now." "Bigger," Miller replied calmly. "We've been holding back, showing you only what we wanted you to see. Today that ends." The battle that followed would be remembered for generations. Human ships danced through space, changing size and shape to meet each threat. Their drone swarms moved like schools of fish, overwhelming enemy defenses. The quantum compression technology that had made them seem small now revealed its true potential. As the Dominion fleet began to retreat in disarray, Miller broadcast one final message. "You mocked our tiny fleet, but size was never our weakness. It was our greatest strength. Remember this day. Remember what humanity is capable of when underestimated." The galaxy would indeed remember the day when the tiny fleet revealed its true power, and the balance of power changed forever. The Galactic Council chamber was packed with representatives from every spacefaring race. They watched in silence as the massive display showed the final battle unfolding. The Dominion's last desperate attack against Earth had begun, and this time, humanity wasn't holding anything back. Admiral James Miller stood on the bridge of the Earth ship Endeavour, the same vessel that had once been mocked for its small size. Now it commanded a fleet of 300 ships, facing off against the Dominion's remaining forces. "They brought everything they have left," reported Captain Wilson. 700 ships, including their super dreadnoughts. Miller nodded calmly. Send word to all commanders. No more hiding. No more pretending to be small. Show them who we really are. Across the battlefield, human ships began their transformation. The quantum compression fields that had kept them compact now reversed at full power. Vessels that had seemed like toys compared to Dominion warships expanded to their true sizes, some growing even larger than their enemies. In the council chamber, High Counselor Bren watched in amazement. All this time, he whispered, they were holding back. The Dominion fleet opened fire first, their massive weapons lighting up space, but the human ships were ready. Their expanded forms revealed new weapons, technologies that had been kept secret until this moment. Launch the smart matter swarms, Miller commanded. From every human ship, clouds of tiny robots emerged. Unlike the previous drone swarms, these were different. They could combine and separate at will, forming larger structures than breaking apart to dodge enemy fire. Sir, Wilson called out, Engineer Cooper's new defense system is working perfectly. The smart matter is intercepting their shots. The battle quickly turned into a display of everything humanity had developed. Ships changed size and shape at will, quantum fields allowing them to adapt to any situation. The smart matter swarms formed temporary shields, weapons, and even short-range communication relays. In the council chamber, the Krell representative, who had once laughed at human ships, stood up. This isn't just combat, he declared. This is art. This is the future of space warfare. The Dominion's fleet tried to maintain formation, but their rigid tactics were no match for humanity's fluid strategy. When they grouped up, human ships would shrink to slip through their defenses. When they spread out, the human vessels would expand to full size and overwhelm them with superior firepower. Their flagship is making a run for Earth, Wilson reported. They're hoping to force a surrender. Miller's expression hardened. Show them our final surprise. Activate the planetary defense grid. Around Earth, thousands of tiny satellites suddenly activated. Each one, no bigger than a cargo pod, expanded into a fully armed defense platform. The Dominion flagship found itself surrounded by a shell of human firepower. This is Admiral Miller to the Dominion Command. He broadcast on all frequencies. You came to our space believing size meant power. You mocked our ships, called them tiny, thought us weak. Today, you learn the truth. Surrender or be destroyed. The Dominion flagship stopped, caught in a web of human technology that had evolved far beyond their understanding. After a tense moment, their engines powered down. Back in the council chamber, the members watched as the remaining Dominion ships surrendered one by one. The war was over. The tiny fleet had changed the galaxy forever. High Counselor Bren stood to address the chamber. Let this day be remembered, he announced, not as a victory of size or strength, but as a lesson. Never again will we judge a species by their appearance. Humanity has earned their place among the stars. As the council members applauded, Miller looked out at his fleet, now showing its true size and power for all to see. They had kept their secret, played their part, and emerged stronger than anyone had imagined. Send word to Earth Command, he ordered. Tell them it's done. The galaxy finally sees us for what we really are. The age of the tiny fleet was over. The age of human innovation had begun.